Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another stream. It has been a while, and I'm joined with my first ever guest that brought me into this kind of ecosystem. Smooth, how are you doing today, Smooth?
Doing great. Yeah, it's pretty wild to think how full circle this really is. First stream on your end, and now here it is right as I'm about to finally launch Flare. So happy to be here, man.
Yeah, and I am hyped for Flare. Like you said, it's been a long time kind of in the making. I remember when we first had the discussion about you potentially building you had this idea, right? And you were like, yeah, I think I'm going to go for it. And that feels like a lifetime ago now, like months and months.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of iterations of Flare. And I think the final product is definitely, I mean, I can't wait to see what happens. It's literally tomorrow, right?
Yep. Yeah. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. UTC, it officially launches the first mint day.
Nice, nice. How you feeling kind of going into it?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, overall, the Titanx market, it feels like there's something kind of stirring in the air and feels a little bit different. I feel like something needs to happen, and I'm glad Flair is going to be here for hopefully a potential catalyst for everything to, not saying it's going to turn around because of Flair, but just put some motion back into the gears and whatnot. So yeah, I'm really hyped.
Yeah, I think we went through this point of just new projects almost every week. And
Yep.
then the market slows down, people are more hesitant to launch. So it all feels quite quiet. But I think, yeah, we do need just a few catalysts because, I mean, obviously we've had this kind of downturn, but we do need to get back because what we have is so special. And like we have so many good ideas and just getting back onto the kind of everyone launching, all the hype, I think is going to be really good. And I think Flair is going to utilize that so much because it's 11-week mint phase. So throughout those 11 weeks, even if there's just one uptick, it's going to be utilizing it massively.
Yeah, absolutely. And starting a LP at these lows, I've said it a lot, but it really does help the growth and healthiness of the LP. It's a V2 LP, so it's going to be constantly recompounding back into it, further growing forever. And having that 11 weeks and catching clips of upward trends in the market was one of the main reasons why I chose 11 weeks. I didn't want to time a week or 10 days. I wanted a longer, more fair, balanced way of, minting or getting tokens. So I'm really excited that the Flare is going to be able to really hit certain pockets of this next 3 months, because this next 3 months in the macro sense and in crypto, I think are going to be great. So obviously it's to be seen, but I'm very excited.
Yeah, how much thought has gone into kind of the timing of this? Because the launch of timing is very important, but I think you're getting it at a good point. I've seen quite a lot of people talking about, is this potentially the bottom? And if it is, launching a project at the bottom, like you said, is the best thing you could possibly do because all those LPs are just going to grow with it. How
Yeah,
much kind of
absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How much
So
thought went into it?
I put a decent amount of thought. I mean, it was ready, a little while ago. So I was hoping to do 2 green weekly candles, and that was what I wanted to release into. And every single week, right, we had one solid green weekly candle, and it was like just a quick clip, right? And obviously a big red candle after that. So kind of waited, and then all of a sudden, now we just said after one green candle, we were like, screw it, let's do next week. And then now we're sitting on 2 weekly green candles, exactly how I wanted to release. So hopefully it stays up, but nonetheless, that bottom, if it is the bottom, is going to really, really help this platform, this project.
Yep, for sure. And there's even more catalysts kind of coming in because it is, for anyone that doesn't know, it's going to have a pretty big LP with Inferno and Inferno X, which is the kind of X28 style omni-chain version of Inferno, is coming soon as well. So Flare and Inferno X hopefully will be a really good catalyst for hopefully the whole ecosystem, but definitely the Inferno projects, which obviously I'm hyped about.
Yeah, very bullish on it. And, hopefully with how we're creating this LP, it not only helps Flare and the internal ecosystem, but, the Inferno Kingdom as well. So Phoenix hopefully will benefit from it. And Godex and all these other projects that are bonded to Inferno. And I really think Inferno just needs a little bit of spark. And with Flare and the potential, whenever the Inferno X Omni chain comes out, we will really see, a little bit more of a hype around Inferno.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think for anyone that maybe hasn't heard the kind of elevator pitch for Flare, which is almost impossible now, you've been hyping this up on streams for a very, very long time. But for anyone new, do you want to kind of give a brief overview of what Flare is and kind of the unique selling points it has?
Yeah, so Flare is a OFT hyper deflationary protocol built on X28, basically. So it utilizes ETH and Titanx as inputs, 11 weeks of minting, daily auctions every single day, basically, besides Fridays for that 11 weeks. And it will have, it's a tax token furthering, growing the auction pool and the burn, and it will have a liquidity web, and it auto mints X28, and that means 50% is burnt, which is insanely powerful. So not a great elevator pitch, but yeah.
No. Yeah. That, like, you're basically taking. I really enjoyed your stream that you had with Dude as well, because you said you're just kind of fucking around and finding out, and you have thrown all the kind of bullish tokenomics that we've seen in the ecosystem, like that Inferno was on that kind of mint phase. That was insane. The hype towards the end of that was so special, and recreating that is going to be huge. And then you also have kind of the LP web, the Element 280, and Shogun's going to have, you've got the tax token that's going to be fueling the auctions. Yep. So I kind of view Flare 2 different stages. It kind of has stage 1 mint, and then that's going to be, I mean, in my opinion, it's going to be similar to what we've seen with Inferno. And then after that is when it becomes capped. And that's when it's exciting, because you're going to have this LP web. And like you said, it's omni-chain. So this LP web isn't just going to be on Ethereum and Titanx. It's going to be potentially on Base, potentially going to other places, which I think is super exciting. And I'm excited. I've said this from the beginning. I'm excited for those 11 weeks and it to become capped. That's what I'm excited about, because I think that's when it's going to get really, really interesting.
Yeah. And to your point, the 11 weeks is going to set up the after 11 weeks, right? If it has a really good first 11 weeks, the math long term is really, really solid. So I'm really excited. I don't know what's going to happen, right? This is some, like you said, fuck around, find out. This type of tokenomics has never been done before, and this type of minting daily auctions, I believe, hasn't been done before. So we are going to see, but nonetheless, this has so much, buy pressure just built into it every single day, burning every single day, while constantly minting X28 and burning more and more Titanx. So it's just a very powerful project that has some real, horsepower like under the engine. And so I'm just really excited to see kind of what happens.
Yeah, definitely this LP web. Like, I think because we've been in this down period for a while and there's not been that much volume, we kind of forget how powerful it was when E280 and Shogun was first kind of launched. There was really high volume because you have this whole network of different ways that, and because it's a tax token, it's going to be always fueling the auctions through this massive web. So it's so powerful when we do have high volume. And I think, yeah, timing it now, by the end of the 11 weeks, we should be in a full out upwards like bull market, hopefully, not financial advice, I don't know, but hopefully. And if that does happen, the volume is going to be crazy across all your pairs, and like it's just going to be burning Flare and added to the auctions, which is going to be in turn burning even more.
Yeah. Long term, the more we buy and put back into the auction, the more tokens we actually burn. So we wanted it to be as aggressive as possible, and overall those LP webs, it's going to be a little bit slower on the ETH side, but when it is on Base for the LP web, these LPs can start with very little amount of capital over there. And, our bots are going to trade on those on those base pairs insanely low if they can make even a tiny bit of profit. So it's really cool that a lot of tokens are going omni-chain over to base, and Flare will obviously be one of them and grow a really, really fast LP web over there because, it is a V2, regardless if it's over on base. So everything will constantly be compounded back into it if it's traded against. So these things will grow a lot over time, which is exactly what I want.
Yeah, and it's literally making this network not just on one chain but multiple chains. As
Yep.
X28 moves to different different chains, you can just follow with it. And that's what's really interesting. This is even more of a selling point in my opinion, because last time we did a stream about Flare, this wasn't even considered. But
Yep.
now it adds a whole new element, which is so interesting, because even if ETH and ETH's whole chain is down, base could be pumping, which is pumping Flare and making all these R bots fuel the auctions even further. So I think Flare is going to get very, very deflationary very, very quickly. But yeah, what's the kind of game plan going over to base then? So because at the moment we really only have Uranus, is it going to be slowly as more projects come out, you're just going to be building that web over on base?
Yeah. So it's going to be a slow kind of transition over there, and luckily we have 11 weeks to start that webbing, and I think sooner there will be a lot more projects over there. So we're going to get for sure an X28 ecosystem of tokens. And, there's other tokens over there that we can just bond to as well. So, try to get some capped deflationary tokens over on base. I think that'd be pretty cool just to be bonded to those. And, if it's a high trading pair, these bots are going to see this like little tiny pair down here or whatever and want to trade that as well. So definitely a slow kind of growth over to base, but slow growth is better than no growth, and that web will start getting pretty big as more tokens come over.
100%. Is the game plan still to kind of target the hyper deflationary projects exclusively on both Ethereum and base?
Yeah, that's the goal. Obviously, if there's some massive trading with a certain project, even if it you know inflating or whatever, if it is very high volume, then we definitely think about it, but looking to do only really deflationary projects just so that the leverage of growth of Flare is even more ramped up, as high as possible.
Yeah, I really like this, because this was, I don't know if anyone remembers, but this was the original plan for Shogun. It was just going to be on top of the hyper deflationary tokens in the ecosystem. Obviously, it spread to all the projects, but I think it's going to have an interesting leverage effect, because there's not going to be any hyperinflating protocols that you're tied to pulling you down. Everything's kind of capped, and everything's also kind of paired to Titanx. So as Titanx pushes all these capped supply deflationary protocols, Flare's going to be benefiting.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really hyped, and I think that's just another little nugget of kind of why Flare is a solid hold. And I really just want to make, if you are interested in getting in on Flare, I want to make it compelling to hold it and actually have a long-term plan and view of what's possible. And having OFT from the start, everything that starts on ETH, right? From the auctions, from minting, that is the only supply forever. So it's going to be on tons of different chains over time. So it's not like it's going to just be on ETH and base. Like, this thing is going to be over tens of chains over the years to come. So it's not stopping.
Nice. Yeah. And obviously we brushed over it a little bit quickly, but the main LP, because for the first, is it few weeks, it's going to be buying up Inferno and pairing, making its kind of main LP with Inferno.
Yeah, here, I'll share the white paper real quick. So just a quick little overview of the minting before I get to that. So every Friday, 2 p.m. UTC, people can come in, mint at the ratio that it is for that week, and claim on Saturday, 2 p.m. UTC. So just like Inferno, AwesomeX, right? Every there's a lot of minting. So
And this starts tomorrow, 2 p.m. UTC.
Tomorrow, 2 p.m. UTC, 3:21. So 3:21. I love that. So one Titanx equals one flare for the first week, and it'll drop by 0.01 every single week after that. So,
and just like you said at the beginning, you wanted this to be a very fair launch. Whoever wants to get in during this period can at a fair ratio. Obviously, there is a little bit more pressure to get in earlier. There is a better ratio, but even if you don't, you're still getting a pretty decent ratio towards the end as well. And I really like that. This is the Titanx ethos as a whole. This is fair. This is, I really like this.
Yeah. And, you know, my goal with Flare is to make minting as profitable as possible. And with dropping this by 0.01 every single week will allow the daily auctions, the buy and burn, and all of the buy pressure that's added to it, hopefully make the ROI on minting profitable. Even though you may sell it, you may not sell it, whatever the case is. I wanted to ramp up for that Friday mint. I want you to mint, you know. So yeah, this is very slow, very fair. And at the end of the 11 weeks, it drops to only 0.9. So I think that's like built in, you know, 10% drop, basically. That's like you said, it's about as fair as it gets.
Yeah, for sure. And just having its pair with Inferno, if Inferno is pumping against Titanx, it's always going to be lifting up Flare and making this profitable, which is awesome. And the thing about the auctions is it's basically an income, a revenue source for these protocols. During the week, you're going to be bringing in loads of the input tokens are ETH, X28, and Titanx, right?
Just ETH and Titanx.
Oh, just ETH and Titanx. Okay. Yeah. So bringing in both, and that's just going to be fueling the buy and burn even further for the mint period where even more will come in. And this whole process, I mean, we've seen it with Inferno, but we've never really seen these auctions in between. So this is going to be super interesting. In my head, it makes sense. It sounds very like bullish because as you go through the mint phases, there's going to be this really aggressive buy and burn ramp up during the week. People are going to be getting for crazy ROIs, and then it's going to come back down for the mint on the Fridays through the Saturdays. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Like you said, I love what Steve DeFi says. It's all an experiment. And this is truly kind of a pinnacle of all these tokenomics that we've seen in Titanx, all kind of bundled into one. So it's going to be so interesting. I honestly don't even know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know either. And then you add where we're at the bottom, right? Hopefully, right? So you add all of that to the potential in the whole ecosystem. I think it's a perfect storm. And it's got some, crazy little nuggets everywhere we talk about. So this is going to be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to run through the minted and auction allocation?
Yeah. So for minting and the auction balance, whatever ETH or whatever Titanx comes in, it's split these ways. So 48% of everything that comes in will go and buy Flare from the LP. And all of that is X28 auto mint as well. So basically, to sum it up, 50% of the Titanx is going to be burnt, but 48% of the Flare, that's 48% of the Titanx is going to be buying Flare that next day. So that's almost 50% of everything buying every single day, no matter what. And then also 28% is allocated towards the buy and burn. So that's also buying and burning as well. So it's a lot of program buy pressure, but also this is the only amount of percent auto X28 minting. So it's going to be hopefully pretty powerful for X28 and bring that peg closer to 101. I think it just needs a little bit in my opinion. So I'm hoping that's kind of the catalyst. But 8% of the Titanx is used for the first 4 weeks to grow the Inferno Flare pair. And then after that 4 weeks, forever and always, it'll go to the Inferno buy and burn to, consistently buy and burn Inferno. So this is going to be thicken the LP with Inferno Flare and then help the LP forever and always by burning buying and burning Inferno. So that's pretty bullish for the Inferno Kingdom. And I'm bullish on Inferno, so I think Flare having a massive pair with it, and it starts as a X28 Flare Soul pair, but that Inferno Flare pair is going to grow a lot, I think. So I'm pretty pumped on that.
Yeah, just having like this is another addition to the Inferno Kingdom, and we have Inferno X coming as well. I think Inferno is slept on, in my opinion.
Yep.
It's why I built on it. I think it's got so much potential. Having even more kind of hyper deflation on top of Inferno is going to pump up Flare. It's going to pump up all the build on Inferno projects like Phoenix. And it's just going to be like, this is creating a whole nother kind of kingdom and even like strengthening it even more with this 8%. Because Flare is going to be, these auctions are running forever. Because of the LP web, because the auctions are always going to be fueled through these taxes, it means there's always going to be income coming in, which is always, this is a forever burner on Inferno. Like this is
exactly.
I'm super, super bullish on this. And obviously, if Inferno, this is the beauty of the stacked LPs. If Inferno starts pumping and Flare has its main LP with Inferno, it's going to be pushing up Flare as well. So this is awesome. And just really strengthening up that LP at the beginning for the first 4 weeks, I think is going to be huge as well, because you're going to have really, really strong leverage.
Yeah, and the first 4 weeks, it's going to be a lot of economic energy going into this pair. And having that 8% after that is going to be just constantly buying and burning Inferno, which will and should pull up the Flare pair, just creating more ARB across all the other pairs, but also hopefully creating a higher price floor for all the other pairs as well. So I'm really happy that this was a change that was made, because originally it was just sent to the Inferno buy and burn, but now with it being a LP growth and then sending it to the buy and burn, that's just the most bullish case we could have made for Flare and Inferno, right? What's better than growing more liquidity for Inferno and then buying and burning it forever instead of just buying and burning it forever? I think you bolster it in the front end, help it on the back end deflate.
100%. And you're also obviously burning so much Titanx. Like rooting through and going to mint X28 is going to be a huge burner. And so much of the economic energy is going to go towards that, which is going to be even more bullish, because the more Titanx we burn, it carries all projects, which is going to carry Inferno. And then you're going to further separate the Inferno Titanx ratio through this 8%, which is going to pump that up, which is going to pump Flare up. And then Flare's buy and burn is going to separate that even further. So the leverage on leverage and the cap supply on top of cap supply is something that makes me, this is what I love about Titanx, because even if one of these base layers does well, if Titanx pumps, Inferno pumps, Flare pumps. If Inferno does well, it's going to pump Flare as well. Like all these angles are super bullish. Obviously at the moment we're seeing the downside of the leverage, but like if you just see the infrastructure we have, everything that's coming as well, the X28 model, like Titanx is going to become so scarce. And I mean, I think we spoke about it on the very first stream we did. Like it's not a quick get in, get out. Titanx is going to be a multi-cycle project.
Yep.
And leveraging it with projects like Flare is, I think, how you separate and win even further.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And having as much leverage as possible now will only set up future growth and future expansion. And I'm really excited that we have so much leverage and just good, solid tokenomics built in now, where, years and years from now, even if the auctions, let's say they run dry years from now, right? The potential price could make it so even if it's a little bit, it will be solid. But Titanx Will 1000X said, will its cap supply? Yes. So after the 11 weeks, you cannot mint anymore. So it is a cap supply after 11 weeks. And so minting for 11, but daily auctions are going to happen through that process. So yeah, it's going to be super capped and super deflationary after 11 weeks.
Yeah, just like you said, for example, years down the line, if there is nothing left in the auctions, it's still going to be, if any volume over any of these pairs that it forms over its LP web, gets any volume in between, it's going to be fueling those auctions further. It's going to be fueling its deflation as well. It's going to be like, it does not need a lot. I think this is definitely one of those tokens that it has a short-term approach as well, but long-term, like, you can be confident this is still going to be working and chugging along. It's not like there's going to be a buy and burn that runs out. It's always going to be leveraging all. It's just like E2A is, it's kind of the easy button for the ecosystem. This is kind of the easy button for all the cap supply, hyper deflationary projects in Titanx, and out, like, even going on to base as well. Like this, the roadmap for this is insane, and giving people the option just to get in over 11 weeks and then it's capped is huge. So yeah, after 11 weeks, it becomes completely capped, and I'm hyped. I am hyped to see what it does after that.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention any additional utility built on top of it, because definitely have things coming in the future that will absolutely benefit Flare. And I am not I would prefer not to make another coin. Obviously, new coins are solid sometimes in certain use cases, but nonetheless, I will be bringing more and more utility to Flare over time. And that's one thing I can absolutely guarantee. And it is a very bullish future, I think, with Flare. I'm just saying that.
Yep. I'm hyped as well. I'm a bit biased. Obviously, my project Phoenix is built on top of Inferno. Anything that benefits Inferno is going to benefit all the build on Inferno projects as well.
Yep.
And then even further, so Flare's going to launch, and then we're going to have another catalyst of Inferno X coming out as well, which hopefully should even support Flare. Because if there's a lot of Inferno being burnt, it just means it's going to be pushing up all the build on Inferno pairs, including Flare.
Yeah. And so I'm hoping to thicken this thing up, this liquidity, and just hopefully bolster, take a lot of Inferno off the market, help all the Inferno kingdom. And, this is, I think GoatX and us in Flare is the only ones adding to the Inferno buy and burn. Am I correct on that?
I believe so. Flux still supports through the buy and burn as well.
Okay.
And obviously Phoenix is supporting Flux. So we're kind of doing it that way. But yeah, directly, you and GoatX both have an 8% allocation.
Yep. Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be hopefully, possible more and more projects in the future are constantly adding to that. I think that's a nice little tidbit, and it's really powerful if you have a good LP with them. And I think that's why this change was absolutely necessary.
Yeah, not to skip ahead too much, but can we just cover the kind of buy and sell tax? Because I think that is key for people to understand kind of what's going to happen with its deflation, and about if there is any volume across this LP web, what's going to happen.
Exactly. So during the 11 weeks, there'll be an 8% buy and sell tax, 3.5% to the daily auction pool, 3.5% burned, 1% to Genesis. So this is dedicated amounts of, no matter if and when people are selling or buying on the open market, there is burning, and there is more and more in the daily auction pool. So regardless if it is a buy and burn, this thing is going to lose supply during the 11 weeks and after the 11 weeks. Like, if there's any type of buying and selling. So I didn't know which one to do more. Obviously, the more we put in the daily auction pool, the more that we actually burn, and the more economic energy that comes in. But having just a solid straight burn is very underestimated, in my opinion. And it is a guarantee of, no matter what, regardless if there's buying and burning or anything happening in Flare, at least there is a burn, and you will grow and gain more ownership over time. So that is one thing I really wanted to bake into this. And then after mint phase, it drops from 8% to 2.8%. 1% to the daily auction pool, 1% burn, 0.8% to Genesis. So this is same concept, a little bit in the daily auction pool, a little bit of burn, very low tax. People can move and buy and sell after that 11 weeks a little bit easier. And, hopefully that will also help the ROI on auctions being decent as well. So the lower that tax percentages after the 11 weeks, the better, in my opinion. I don't think 8% is that big of a deal, but 2.8% feels a lot better for the life of the project, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the 8% just for the beginning and having the 50-50 split between burn and auctions is, I think, for the 11 weeks important, because although 8% sounds like a lot, over these 11 weeks, there's going to be ROI to be made. And you're not going to mind if you're making 4, 5, 6, even 10% if you're paying an 8% tax, because you're still winning. And that's just going to benefit the protocol even more. And for the first 11 weeks, I think this is important. And then kind of tapering off to a 2.8%, I think is more approachable in my eyes. If there's a new user that comes in and sees 8% straight away, it might deter them. But a 2.8% is like very, very fair. So having 8% for that first period where there's going to be the volatility from these crazy auctions up and down during the weeks is just going to be benefiting, making it even more deflationary. I think it's going to be really important. But then, yeah, tapering off is, yeah, I really like this approach.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, I appreciate that, but one thing as well that I'll add to that is 8 weeks of growing, or 11 weeks of growing the LP web, right? And these R bots on ETH and base are going to be buying and selling out of these LPs at an 8% buy and sell tax, right? But after the 11 weeks, it'll drop down to 2.8%. So basically giving a 5.2% boost to those R bots, right? So there'll be a lot more fluid in buying and selling out of those pairs after the 11 weeks, which I really like. So it'll only help more arbitrage in the future having a smaller tax, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I cannot wait to see kind of what this does. And so for the 11 weeks, is that kind of you're going to be building the LP web through that entire time? And then after that, is there still access to kind of expand LPs
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's going to be 8% added to that liquidity web
forever?
forever. So
Nice.
it's going to be a forever growing thing, and new projects can come out, and we'll be able to bond with those new projects. And so just having the flexibility in the future, consistently growing the liquidity. And it doesn't have to be necessarily liquidity webs. We can just add more liquidity to certain pairs as well. So if we want it a little heavier over here, heavier over here. If this is getting arbed a lot, we'll have a little bit of flexibility to really make that happen and make it a lot more profitable for these, bigger pairs to be traded against.
And this is, I think, quite important because any new protocol that has a lot of hype behind it, flares there. You're benefiting, you're taking advantage of that volume, and it really gives like more longevity to the protocol. Because let's say next cycle, everything in Titanx is kind of died down a bit, but there's a new project that's really ramping up. Flare can benefit from that, and it's gonna fuel its auctions and fuel its deflation at the same time.
Exactly. So, not to mention, possibility of people doing, AI agent trading and all this other kind of crazy stuff that might happen in the future. And there could be a flare kingdom in the future as well. We have no idea. So it's going to be a pretty cool future. And these little things like this starting now, these taxes, and having that, this is everything I do is kind of viewed as a very long term thing. So having 11 weeks, very long term, slow mint. After that, I'm looking at it basically a forever lifetime thing. So I cannot wait to see kind of what happens and what is accomplished over time.
I think that's a really good point because just having the kind of option to go on all these different pathways and being omni-chain, going to all these different chains, having these kind of expanding LP web is huge because even just in reference to Titanx, Jake at the very beginning did not think we'd be in this position. I remember him saying, "Oh yeah, Hyper and Titanx, that would be enough. That's all we need. Even if other projects come or don't, that's all we have." Now we have 30 plus projects, more
Yeah.
on the way. Like it has evolved in such a short period of time, massively. And yeah, Flare, like you said, you've got future plans, but as the market kind of evolves, you're able to evolve with it, which I think is, from an investor's point of view, very important because any trends you're going to be able to hop on, and yeah, the longevity of this project is like secured.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I really want it to be, and it is. I really think people will see the power of this after the 11 weeks, like you're saying. I mean, I think even if the 11 weeks of minting and daily auctions are whatever type of usage and people playing around in there and minting whatever, even if it's low, medium, or high, after the 11 weeks is when you'll really see, I think, the power of this and the long-term view of what Flare really is. So I think every little thing helps right now, but it helps even more in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's kind of with Titanx, we're seeing that a lot. We have all these tokens that, the way I view it, are all on sale. The
Yep.
Dragon X buy and burn is huge in compared to its market cap. And all these other tokens that are all leveraging Titanx as well are down massively. But the utility and the kind of fundamentals they have backing them are massive. So launch at this period when people are uncertain is going to be huge, because as the market really hypes up again, it's just going to be a frenzy to get a hold.
Exactly. So I that sounds great. That sounds great to me.
So you spoke about the buy and burn and it being extremely aggressive. Should we just dive into the actual percentages quickly to make sure everyone's aware?
Yeah. So this is going to be a buy and burn, just similar to Inferno's, kind of exactly like Inferno's, but a little bit better. So the times and intervals have changed a tiny bit, but percentages are the most important thing in my opinion. So Sunday to Wednesday, 4% of the total X28 in the buy and burn will be used every single day. Thursday will be 10%, and then Friday and Saturday will be 15% each. So this is going to be a total of 50% of the buy and burn is going to be used every single week. So it's going to be hammering down on buying the token out of this pair, this X28 Flare pair, and burning it forever. And I'm just excited to see what that looks like. I mean, it is very aggressive. And then you add those percentages on that 48% that's going to be buying and putting into the auction balance every single day. So it's a lot of tons of buy pressure and possible burning happening.
This is, yeah, very aggressive. What was Inferno's? I forget now. This
That's
sounds
this.
more. Oh, it was exactly this. Ah, okay.
Exactly
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. And we all saw kind of what happened with those mint phases. It was insane, wasn't it? It was each week. I just remember minting more and more and more each week,
Yep.
because you could make that crazy ROI. And then the next week you could do it again.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And I think, yeah, utilizing stuff that already works and is proven is, I mean, it just makes sense. It's important.
Yep.
And then adding in all these other unique parts, like, fuel it even further.
Exactly. And having the exact same percentages, let's say, and you think like, all right, Inferno, how and why did this buy and burn need to be revamped? Why is there a V2, right? It didn't have enough adding to it every single week for this to be sustainable. So that's why having the daily auctions there to constantly be adding more and more into this over time makes this a lot more sustainable. Never know what could happen, but it is using 50% every single week. So it could be a massive amount, it could be a low amount, but then it could turn into a massive amount later on. Like it really bolsters with the week that it had is what sets this up basically. So it's a lot, and it's just a lot of firepower and burning every single day.
Yeah. And I'm kind of interested to see, because, for example, if towards the beginning of the week, Inferno is pumping and it's pumping up Flare as well, and more is coming in through those auctions, towards the end of the week, there's going to be more buying and burning Flare. So it's kind of like setting out this catalyst event each week, like you said, depending on what happened participation wise. So yeah, when it's green, it's going to be very green.
Yeah, it's going to be dark green. Yeah. So I love the fact that I took some pieces from other people's projects, right? Like you don't need to reinvent the wheel to make something really powerful. And I have enough different stuff going on to make it unique enough to really be different. And having a structure like this is just adding to the potential ROI on minting. The main goal of the 11 weeks is that. So, but after the 11 weeks, this is still going to be buying and burning this aggressively. So the daily auctions are doing really well. The buy and burn's buying and burning even more.
Yep. And I love your saying about throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks. Did I say that
Yep.
right?
Throw the spaghetti at the wall, see it sticks.
Yeah, and that's exactly like we've seen through the Titanx ecosystem. Vault came in with these revolutionary cap supply auctions, and everyone's kind of taken their own spin on it. Same with the Dragon X, like an external kind of external force that's always fueling buy and burns as well is massive. And then the Shogun LP webs with E280 as well. It's like everyone's kind of taking bits and pieces from each other to kind of see what works. And this, like you said, is unique enough that it's not been done before. You're kind of taking all these proven tokenomics and seeing what happens when you merge them all together. Because it really is an Inferno, Shogun, E280 kind of hybrid, omni-chain hybrid.
Yep.
That's going to be sprawling across multiple chains. So, I mean, yeah, on paper, it's like it all makes sense, but obviously this is all an experiment, and like
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yep. Yeah. And it's never been done before. So we have no idea what type of outcome it is. If it was a copy and paste, you might have some idea of what it could do. But this is something so different, and I don't have any idea what it could do, but it's all gearing to have a ton of buy pressure. That's what regardless if people are buying and burning or buying and selling on the open market, this thing is buying itself, right? It's just programmed to do that every single day. So I'm excited to see kind of what that looks like and how that looks like on the graph, because if people don't sell after an auction or after a mint, all we have is buy pressure the rest of the time. So yeah, I don't know.
For sure, yeah, it's going to be interesting, and this is literally tomorrow. How are you, like, feelings? Are you a bit nervous? I remember going into the Phoenix launch, I was really nervous, like excited and nervous, because it's you've been working on it for months, and now it's coming to kind of fruition. So how are the nerves treating you?
Yeah, they were doing all right before you said that, but nah, honestly, I feel excited. It's one of those things, like, this has been taking a while for it to come to full fledged live, and I'm really excited, little nervous, but at the end of the day, this is kind of the par for the course if you want to do something like this. So nonetheless, I think testing has went great. Audits came back really clean. Everything is solid, and I have the team deploying everything for me. Like, I have everything set up to where I'm as hands off as possible, right? Because I don't want to mess up anything, right? So I'd rather let them, handle it, and I'll handle everything I need to handle. And yeah, I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, I was the opposite. I was kind of involved with the launch, and I'm telling you, that is the most nervous I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
That's good nervous for it. So I think, leaving it to professionals and to the devs, I think, is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, last thing I want to do is mess up right at the final lap, right? You just ran 499 laps this last lap, and you fall down and break your ankle or something, and you can't even race anymore, right? So, yeah, I mean, or it's just first step, you just break your ankle, basically, I guess.
Yeah. For the liquidity pool creation, is there anything you want to cover over that? I know we've kind of gone into it a bit, but is there any kind of specifics you want to cover?
I mean, mainly what it is the first $5,000 worth of Titanx for the LP. So it's going to be the first 30 billion that come in roughly, is going to the LP. So that's where we're starting out at. Everything is V2, so it's going to be compounded back into the LP. Every buy and sell obviously will have a tax, but they'll be growing, LP wise, they'll be growing both sides as people are buying and selling on the open market. So it will be really cool to see how this works. But mainly 5,000 of Titanx is going to X28 and the Flare pool. So that 30 billion of Titanx is going to mint X28 and create that pair after that.
Nice. And is there a 24-hour wait between claiming tokens, minting
on minting? No. So if you
Okay.
get in on any time in the mints, you can get them out anytime after that.
Nice.
So it's just immediate. Basically, if you come in the last second, you can get it out the first second after that mint. But On the auctions, absolutely. The 24-hour auction wait is in effect on the auctions because people really do game those auctions last second. And
Yep.
I think minting is more okay to get it out right away than auctions is. And I think you should wait. So yeah, so not on minting, but on auctions.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I like that approach because a lot of projects have, for Phoenix as well, we had a 24-hour wait. And I think some users that are inexperienced don't understand that if you're buying off market, you're just basically exit liquidity for a sniper bot. So yeah, having it straight away and letting people sell out is hopefully going to deter any bots from trying to snipe this. And even if they do, they're not going to be the ones making profit. It's going to be the flare users because they'll be able to dump on them.
So with the daily auction pool, just run through this. Anything in the minting or the auction, 48% of everything is going to be buying flare off of the X28 flare pair. And during the auctions, whatever the pool is, 11% is going to be used every single day during the 11 weeks. And then after mint phase, will drop down to 5% of the pool is used every day. So it's going to be a lot to start. Flare is going to start with 1 trillion in the auction, total, and have 11%. So the first auction's 110 billion tokens. Like that is a big auction. And depending on, how it goes, that could be a huge amount of capital. So I'm really excited on how aggressive that is. And 11% used every day is a lot.
Yeah, and that's really going to kickstart kind of the week because then the auctions are running all the way up until Friday. So the first week is going to be explosive for sure. I think having that kind of dry powder in the auction preset is going to be really, really interesting because you're just injecting economic energy into the buy and burn, into all these, into the to buy up Inferno as well. All the allocations is going to be kind of bolstered from the beginning. So this is going to be interesting. I like. Is it like the whole thing's very aggressive? That's kind of the gist I'm getting. Like everything's built to, if there is green candles, like it's just gonna absolutely rock it.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
it's exactly that. It's as very aggressive as I could make it, but also I love how slow paced the mint phase is, right? And all of that. Like, yeah, it is a very aggressive, but you can feel pretty confident on getting in day 1 or week 11. You know what I mean? So like having that only dropping 0.1 total, like 10% over 11 weeks, I think that is like the most fair and slow paced mint you could have. But then you add daily just aggressiveness to it on top of all of that. So I don't know what that looks like, but it definitely sounds good on paper, like you were saying.
Yeah, and then dropping down to a 5% as well after mint phase, I think is huge. This kind of goes back into the like longevity narrative. I've done something similar with Phoenix of 1%, and just having a small allocation just really makes it prolong. So no matter if it's up or down, there's always going to be a decent amount in that balance for when there is a pump. You're going to be able to utilize it.
Exactly. So I'm almost guaranteeing that 5% is going to be obviously the 5% is way more sustainable than the 11%, but the 11% is there to go along with the 8% tax, right? With the aggressive start in the auction balance, with the better ratio of flare in the beginning. So everything needs to have these very high octane things to it to slowly taper down to that 11 weeks of, all right, now we're going to slow pace, like longevity minded, less tax. And I think having that is just sustainability in mind after the 11 weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think we've covered most of the white paper now, right? Or is there any other small things that there's left to mention?
Not really. I mean, overall, what I'll say is just having the OFT part of it is like the most underrated thing. There's not going to be needed any type of new token or anything. This is it. So during the 11 weeks, if you want to mint, if you want to get in auctions, you can do that anytime. But if you want to mint, you have 11 weeks to do it, and it's capped forever. So, and we're going to be on all the chains. over time. So this is going to be a forever and always growth liquidity web. Hopefully, I think that's a good way to do it. And being OFT from the start, it starts on ETH and it goes from there.
It gives a whole new concept to kind of the R bots, because we've only seen it on like quite isolated just on ETH. But what happens when you have Flare on different chains and there's all these different profits to be made over everything, with obviously the tax that's going to be feeding the protocol constantly? It's like the LP web is not going to be just isolated. It's going to be sprawling. Like you're going to be able to make over time, like probably the biggest LP web, one of the biggest we're probably going to be able to see. And that is huge because it just takes one, like you said, one of the pairs in these LPs. If it pops, it's going to be benefiting Flare massively.
Yeah. And that's why I love the liquidity web so much, because it really only takes one or two solid LPs to grow all of the other LPs. And we've seen it happen. Like that side, if it goes up, it brings up all the other sides. And it's just so cool to see the ARB go crazy after that.
Yeah. I'm definitely a fan of leverage. Like with Phoenix creating it, I really wanted to leverage Inferno, but having this kind of spread risk across multiple pairs, I think is massive as well, because even if Inferno is on kind of a dry period or even a down period, Flare's still going to be benefiting from other places.
Yep, exactly. And being on multiple chains, like to your point, that's exactly the point of being OFT. I mean, it was a no-brainer to make that a part of this, because if Titanx is going omni-chain, I think it's not only a great selling point for Flare, but it just provides a longevity of, hey, we're going to go everywhere. So be comfortable and confident that this is going to grow and grow liquidity over many, many pairs over a long period of time.
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of the tokenomics nailed down. Can we see the UI? I saw you do a stream with Jukes yesterday. Yep. It looks clean. For anyone that hasn't seen it, let's pull it up, because this one is, I remember you talking about the UI very early on. I think you're one of the founders that you literally created it all yourself, right? And then kind of shipped it to the designer to make it almost copy and paste it.
Yeah. So had to put a good, cool, like this is like Neo Tokyo meets synthwave meets futuristic planet vibes. Like it's a cool kind of, I don't think we've seen any projects have a, DApp like this. So you got the shooting stars, you got the red / pink, planet / moon behind it. The side scrollers.
Yeah, I really like how much pride you've taken in it. I remember when you first spoke about Flare, you were sending me the logos within 24 hours. And you were like, yeah, this is the one. And you had finalized it like very early on. Like the actual visuals and everything, I think I've never seen someone just really go for it and understand exactly what they wanted. I think I'm a bit more unsure, but you knew the vision and you just went for it. And look at it. It looks great. Do you mind scrolling down a little bit so we can see like the whole, this is just one of those like background kind of wallpapers. You can kind of sit, and that's what you kind of wanted to design it, right?
Yeah, I wanted it to be a background looking wallpaper computer screen, but also, I've said this multiple times, but going to a new project and the DApp being a little underwhelming or not as cool as you'd hope for, it almost like makes you not really feel as pumped up to buy it, or you don't really want to show people as much as you would like, right? But having a cool, like very interesting DApp is like, I think very important. And obviously it's kind of like a revolution in the Titanx space. I think new dApps and very cool designs are needed, in my opinion, to really stand out. But I really wanted this to be as aesthetic as possible.
Yeah. And it looks great. It's like the sliders. I really like that, how they kind of, we haven't seen that before for sure.
Yeah. I wanted all the information to be there so you didn't have to scroll at all. Like this has all the contracts and whatnot, but these. Sorry, go ahead.
So this is kind of the homepage when it launches tomorrow. This is the first page, mint, and it looks very simple. Just input, and you can select. Can you click between? Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
click
so
between, and then claim
it'll
instantly.
be whatever is highlighted and actually white, this will be grayed out. And I like that the logo changes so people know like, all right, you are on Titanx or you are on ETH.
Yeah, for sure. And then at the top, there's the auction as well, which is obviously going to be throughout the week.
Yep.
And for the mint, is that auction, you're going to be able to see the ROI as it clocks up throughout the week, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, which is going to be awesome because that's really going to be able to build up the hype. I remember it with Inferno. You were seeing some actually crazy ROIs between the weeks because it was pumping during that time, and people
Yep.
that got in was making crazy ROI
Exactly.
just through go minting it and then selling it. Like it was that easy.
Exactly. So I'm really liking that. And one thing I love is that this has a really big kind of neon green ROI percentage. So it like invites you to look at the border, the logos, and the ROI as the main things first. And that's why like all of the green on this website was set up to be attention grabbing pieces to invite you to go to those more so than anything else. So you have the tabs, right? You have the home button right here, and then all of the squares to it. So everything was very deliberate, like you were saying. I really had a goal and mindset, and a lot of other projects to look at over the many years I've been in crypto too. So it's
Yeah,
been a long time coming.
yeah, I love it. I really do love it. I think the stats as well. When that fills out, I really like the way it looks. But
Yeah.
the
Yeah, and one thing
whole
I'll say is the summary on the mint and the auction are separate. They have some similar things, but they're separate. So
okay,
the summary here will be specific to the mint. So mint ratio, total flare minted, total deposited for this cycle, for this mint cycle, and total deposited over time, over all time of the mints specifically.
nice.
And then you go to the auction, same thing. Summary specific to the auctions. How many participants? Today's available flare. How much was deposited today? How much all time? So it's like very specific to auction and thing, and that's what. And you'll see in the stats page what simplifies the whole stats page, and that's what I really wanted to have a very simple, cool looking stats page.
Yeah. And
So
that's so easy to find as well. And I like that you've separated it because I imagine there are going to be players that are going to be wanting to play the kind of mint inside of things and ones that are going to be trying to game the auctions as well. So just having, it's spread and different between both is good. And I love the auction treasury balance right at the top there. The
yeah,
neon
just
green, it looks
very,
great.
very like, the cool thing is when this main, you go to the auction or the mint as the middle, but you see the left and right. So you know that there is something there. It's not like this is just coming out of nowhere.
Mm,
But then having this as like the biggest thing you can see, I think is like the most important thing to me, in my opinion. I want people to really see, and that's why it is neon green, right? Another little neon green hit to show like, hey, this is how much is in here. But if you have any to claim, it'll be right here. And when we're live, you'll have a claim, like a kind of a history box put
yeah.
right here as well. So, but overall, very simple, but clickable, and you see the background. It's a little bit different, kind of the same vibes, a little different. And we go to the burn page, which is the public callable functions that we have. And, you got a little bit of flames down here to go with the
Nice.
burn effect and whatnot. But same thing, auction buy. This is for that 48% coming in through the mint and auction. This is, going to be used for putting it back into the auction. And then you also have the buy and burn. So you can, click through this as well. But this is all the callable stuff, the public.
Yeah. Nice.
And the stats page.
I
So
love
this
this page.
is
This looks great.
exactly why I wanted it to be super simple on this. I just wanted it to be burned and liquid. That's it. I don't want 3 tabs, 4 tabs, nothing, just 2.
Yeah.
And so it's going to start with the trillion that starts in the balance. You will see that, but it won't be actually able to get. So it'll be a little not misleading, but you're going to have to know like, hey, this is part of the auction balance and the liquid supply and circulating supply. But the cool thing is when things are live, this will be bouncing between the red and the green, between liquid and burned. And then you have obviously the big flare burned right in the middle. So
this will look great. Hopefully it'll be a Pac-Man scenario over time. It's just going to be slowly eating up that liquid flare.
Yeah, I want a little pizza in the corner of liquid supply, just like a little bit.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. I really I'm excited for you. I think the project, the tokenomics are awesome. The UI is awesome. And it's just kind of seeing, and you have the 11 weeks as well. If there's, like we said, if there's any kind of pump for Titanx throughout that time, I mean, some people are saying we're already at the bottom. So you could be launching at prime time when all these LPs are going to be growing and Flare's going to be benefiting.
Yeah, I just would love for that to be the actual case, because having the LPs start at a low and grow with the ecosystem is like the most bullish thing. And we saw basically projects that were released in that section in the uptrend that we had from the bottom of Titanx the first time. Like those things went crazy. Like the LPs grew massively. So I'm really hoping that this has the same effect. And if it is the bottom, then I'm really happy I'm launching right now. But even if it isn't, if it's 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, at least we'll still be in mint phase and our ratio hasn't changed too much. So that's the benefit of the 11 weeks.
And yeah, that brings me on to an interesting point, because obviously when we had our first stream, we were hyper bullish on Titanx. Looking at all the stats, I want to know, has your outlook changed, or are you equally as bullish as you were before?
I think I'm pretty much equally as bullish as before, but I think bullishness changes, right? In my opinion. And, we were in a little bit of a euphoria at that point, right? We're up like 15x, 14x from the bottom. Like everybody's making money. Like this is where it was at that point. But what will happen at all time lows is people will get retested on their bullishness, on their conviction and whatnot. And so I think it's pretty much the exact same, because I do have a really long-term mindset. But it is when red candles come, it is harder to be bullish. It really does test you. So I can't lie and say that it hasn't affected me, right? Obviously, but nonetheless, I'm still building. I still have this project. I have multiple other things that's going to happen in the future. So I don't think it really has deterred me at all. And I'm still looking forward to the future, because the math at this point is really only getting better, in my opinion. So I'm here for it, and I'm still very bullish.
Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, like you always talk about the kind of wider perspective, in the grand scheme of things, we're going to look back and be like, this was just a little blip on the radar. Like the fundamentals are all the same. The only things that's really changed is we've got this kind of down period of red candles, which, like you said, is going to affect emotions. People probably saw their portfolios go from like 5 figures to 6 figures, maybe even 7. And now they're coming back down again. Like it is going to take an emotional toll, but I always think the fundamentals are the same. What we're building here is never done. This is a crypto first. And the X28 kind of system, never done before as well. And that is just going to be benefiting Titanx and all the building Titanx projects as well. So yeah, long term, I'm so bullish on this ecosystem. And I think that's why a lot of builders are continuing to build. If there was any part of the builders that really thought that I don't know, this was the end of Titanx, people would be leaving. But the builders are here and we're here to stay, right? We are, like you said, Flare's going to be expanding everywhere. And I cannot wait to see kind of just the next few months, because I think overall the external markets obviously have been kind of low recently. But I think it only really takes a little pickup, a little catalyst like Flare, like Inferno X, or even externally some good news in the markets for things to turn around.
Yeah, exactly. And like we've seen, like how hard has Bitcoin and Ethereum underperformed? Well, I mean, you could argue Bitcoin performed pretty well going over 100K and whatnot, but Ethereum has really not performed well. And we are like heavily bonded to Ethereum. So we're fighting an upward battle and it's tough. And while Ethereum is dropping in price, our pair with Ethereum is smaller. People, it just is a catalyst. And So broader market has had a tough time regardless. So we're like leverage on the market. So of course we're going to have even tougher times.
Yeah. And that brings you on to another interesting point is where do you think we are at this cycle? Do you think some people I've seen on Twitter, some people say this is it, this is the bear market. What do you kind of think? Where do you think we're at? Do you think we've still got a few legs up left?
Yeah, I think we have some legs up, and what that looks like, I have no idea, right? Is it Bitcoin just gets over 100 again, and ETH goes up to like 4K, right? Like maybe it's not as an aggressive rise. Well, I definitely don't think it's going to be as a aggressive rise as we've seen in the past, but I don't think this is it. I think there's more to be done. I think there's been a lot of market manipulation, and I think governments are, getting a position in Bitcoin. They're getting positions in these other coins, and I think part of the shakeout was getting liquidations, people trying to get a position in crypto, and I think it's a slow effect. But yeah, I just overall think there's just too much market manipulation right now, too much uncertainty, people rotating out of risk on assets as crypto, as stocks, going more into bonds and real estate and whatnot. So it's a little tough to think this is the bottom in my opinion, because we haven't really, or the top, we haven't really like done too much. So I'd be
Yeah.
surprised if it was bear market right now, but shit, I've been wrong so many times before, so I don't I don't really care, right?
And yeah, I think that's a good point because when you look at Bitcoin, like the fundamentals are always the same. And it's
Yep.
just kind of people trading with through waves, through emotions that fluctuate the price. And that's exactly the same with Titanx. The
Yep.
fundamentals are solid, they're strong. It's just we have these waves like anything else. And obviously being a smaller cap, smaller community, those waves are unfortunately a lot bigger. Like Bitcoin in the early days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty gassed on just crypto in general, right? Obviously, I'm very bullish on it, and I would love for it to just be a constant bull market. But there's obviously a lot of variations to that, and like crypto is leverage on so many other assets, just like Titanx is leverage on crypto assets. Crypto in general is a leverage on tons of different other assets. So if those assets are doing really good, crypto's doing even better. And right now, and for a little while, those assets have not done very good. So it's like hard for crypto to really get up and running when everything else isn't happening. And, in 2020, 2021, there's so much free money going around. There's tons of low interest rates. Like people had money in their pocket to speculate in the market. And that's why we had so much uprising, because everywhere across the world was getting, they're like, hey,
Free money.
crypto's going crazy. We're in there, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. And I think that is like really good short term, but long term, like that really does not have too much benefits. And I think we're kind of seeing the reverse now, in my opinion. Like
yeah,
Trump is kind of setting up a long term play where even if the short term it's like we're not experiencing ultra euphoria, long term, this is going to be, in my opinion, this is going to be a golden age for
yeah,
the world because America's going to lead and finally there's going to be corruption's gone, overspending's gone. Like, is treating it like a business in a good way because the health of it is going to be able to be sustained long term. And
yeah,
you're no longer, the world's no longer being led by overinflating, crippling currency.
yeah, absolutely. And dude, there's so much waste, fraud, abuse happening, right? That in a real company in the private sector, there is layoffs, there's chops to way more, right? The view on layoffs is you cut more than you need, right? You always cut more and you rehire if you need those positions. And we have so much cutting going around everywhere. Hopefully that will help all of it over time. And I think it will, but there's so much kind of false stuff happening in the past that it's hard to, yeah, it's really tough balancing like cutting too much versus like cutting enough, right? And
Yeah.
there's so much stuff hanging on by government spending that it's just going to look like things are falling down, whatever the case is. But we're just used to them being there. So it feels like more harm is being done than it really is. And we're just grown accustomed to that always being like that. So
Yeah, and it is that thing though. It's like, okay, what's the alternative? We don't do any cuts, and
yeah,
there's overspending, and the currency collapse, and we see like a depression like we've never seen before. Like this is needed, and I think people don't understand that. They are in this false kind of short-term mindset about like spending, the economy, everything in general, and they're kind of putting that onto like Elon Musk. He's being framed as, in the UK anyway, framed as a very bad kind of evil person, but a year ago he was looked on amazingly. Like everyone looked up to him. He was doing amazing things for humanity as a whole, and he still is. They've just, the media is kind of portraying and thinking that because he's trying to fix the global currency that he's an evil man, which is so dumb. I think we're going to look back on this and be like, what were
yeah,
people thinking?
yeah. Well, that's when you dip your toes in politics, it always gets a little dicey and a little bit hairy, and people really take it to heart. So I don't get it, but I get it at the same time.
Yeah,
It's a tough look.
yeah. And this brings me on to, I mean, we've, yeah, hour and 10 now. I've only got really one more question. Some speculation, some fun speculation. On our first
Okay.
stream, we talked about the V1. We talked about what we thought the game plan was going to be there. What do you kind of think? What do you kind of think now?
Obviously, I would have obviously liked it being on. I think it would have helped a lot and whatnot. Um, is it a I don't know. Is it a carrot? You know, like is it something that we will always look for and say, hey, that at least that's there, or is it going to be something that ETH rises and now we have 3x the amount and we just go crazy and we just burn it? I have no idea, right? At this point and how long it's been off, it's so hard to even have a good answer, right? You know, but I think it will be something that when it turns on, it's fireworks. And at these current prices, if it doesn't turn on and we grow from here, that's like the most bullish case that we could have as a Titanx. Still knowing that that is still there, but um, if we don't and it is needed, I wonder how soon that would get turned on. You know, so I have no idea, but it is a ton of buy pressure just sitting there.
Yeah, I'm sticking to my guns of the very first stream we did. I think I think we recover on our own, and I think that is there for the longevity and the survival. I think that is something in a year's, 2 years time when we're really at the bottom, that gets switched on, and maybe not even all of it's used, but I think from an unbiased kind of Jake's perspective, it makes sense to really focus on the longevity of Titanx. And
Yeah.
with that amount of ETH, you could make Titanx a guaranteed free cycle. The bottom of this, in the year or 2 years, you could turn that on and kickstart everything. Then you could do it again the next cycle. But obviously, from a bias point of view, we want green candles. I think that's why
Yep.
people are feeling emotional. But I think we recover on our own. I really do. Just look at the Titanx stats. Build on Titanx protocols are burning more Titanx than anything else. And that's the whole design. That is what we want. And with X28 as well, as soon as that gets back to a 1-to-1, that's going to be a huge burner for Titanx. And for example, with Flare coming out and multiple projects coming out as well, like that 1-to-1 is just, it is guaranteed, in my opinion. That's going to be pegged again. And the burning of Titanx at a huge level is going to be accelerated.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping that, you know, like you said, Flare is part of that equation. We're going to be auto minting X28. So we're going to burn a crap ton of Titanx and hopefully really take our percentage out of the market, right? I really want Flare to be one of those projects that is like, damn, when that released, like things started really burning. Like that's what I would like to see. And having that auto minting X28 built into that is really, really powerful. And the long term aspect of that is only helping that 1-to-1 ratio stay consistent and stay close to 1-to-1 as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And once again, tomorrow, 2 p.m. UTC is when
Yep.
Flare's launching. 11-week fair launch. You can get in. Obviously, the best ratio is at the beginning. And then after there's 11 weeks, it's capped forever. And the LP web is only going to grow.
Yep.
So bullish on it, man. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Is there any kind of final words you wanna leave to everyone watching?
Overall, like you said, tomorrow, 2 p.m. UTC, Flare releases. It's going to be omni-chain from the beginning. It will be a little bit of time before that's fully live, but it has the capability of being omni-chain. And obviously, everybody will know when it does and starts going
Is that his end?
stuff in the future. And I
Wait,
am
Flair,
looking forward to it.
wait, Smooth, say it again. You cut out.
Yeah, so Flare tomorrow, 2 p.m. UTC, and now am I back now?
Yeah, you're back now. Your internet's rugged right at the end. At least it was at the end, not in the middle.
Right. Yeah, tomorrow, 2 p.m. UTC, Flare releases, omni-chain from the beginning. And overall, this is something I'm going to be constantly working on and growing and having a ton of utility, hopefully in the future. So I'm really excited to be a builder, to be a part of the builders, to be a part of this ecosystem. And nonetheless, thanks for having me on, Colin. It's always a good conversation, good stream.
Always a pleasure. Yeah. And good luck with tomorrow. I hope the nerves aren't too much. And everyone check out Flare. If you have any questions as well, jump in Flare's Telegram through Titanx Hub. Thanks everyone for watching.